Thank you for checking out crypto.chartguys.com, the source for technical analysis in the cryptocurrency world. We are proud to announce our own crypto alert system designed to give you the most critical technical trading information possible no matter where you are. Keep your eyes on the market with mobile or email alerts for MACD crosses, RSI levels, and even inside bar alerts for dozens of coins across multiple exchanges. New features and proprietary ChartGuys indicators are already in development. Our alert system is very easy to customize and utilize, so don't hesitate to sign up for the most effective crypto trading tool on the market at crypto.chartguys.com. Hey everyone, before we get into the technical analysis, just want to make an announcement where we know a ton of people are waiting to get in the chat room, and it's very flattering. We appreciate everybody's patience. We have a wait list of over 2,000 people at this point, but we're going to fast track people. If you've taken both of our courses, and we can see in our system, how far through the course you've completed, but if you've purchased both of our courses and you've completed them, we will fast track you to the top of the wait list to get in as membership into the chat room, because you're obviously showing that you're working towards your education, and we want to continue fostering that and building off that education and allowing you to take the next step, which is joining the chat room and watching all of the stuff play out live after taking those courses. So feel free to email info@thechartguys.com if you have completed both courses and you would like a membership. We will put you to the front of the line. We appreciate the support. Let's get into the charts. Hello crypto friends, hope you're doing well. So we have a setup heading into tonight that is going to dictate where we are looking at in terms of momentum overnight, and of course referring to the East Coast US in terms of it being 6 p.m. Eastern just about. But what I'm looking at is tightening trading ranges with a clear break setting up. So we'll start with the big three. We're going to look at Ripple as well, and we are going to look at the daily time frame and then zoom in on things because this bounce is still underway from the bottom. And what I mean by that is we haven't really consolidated on the daily chart. We did consolidate a bit, haven't broken the daily higher lows. The consolidation here where we show this upper wick of profit taking was just a 4-hour higher low forming yet again, which we'll look at in just a moment. We're still keeping an eye on a potential bullish MACD cross, which was rejected previously. And again, in order for me to gain confidence in this bounce, we could even shoot up to 9,500 right now, and that's still not going to do it for me. I need the daily higher low and higher high to be confident. So 9,500 is randomly enough our last lower high, but we're looking for that higher low. We have the exponential resistance we've rejected multiple times. So I just wanted to instill that in everybody's mindset. Just because we start pulling back, if we start pulling back down into the $7,000 range again, doesn't mean it's a fake out bounce. It absolutely could be, and we must protect ourselves in case it is, but we will form a daily higher low and a higher high once this bounce is for real. And there's going to be a period of fear and people saying, uh-oh, we're heading back down. That's not the bottom once we do try and form that higher low. So that hasn't happened yet. The 4-hour time frame, still a very clear higher low pattern. We've been heading into each overnight session looking for a 4-hour higher low. And here was the one we got last night. We saw the bounce play out last night. We formed a lower high, just barely, almost a double top, 8,650 and 8,625. And then we formed another higher low. So it's just a tightening range at this point in a 4-hour equilibrium. High, low, lower high, higher low, and things are tightening up. If we want to look at more details, we zoom into the hourly, and I can see that we have even a new resistance to be watching, a lower high on the hourly. So at this point, the tightest range that I'm watching on Bitcoin is key support. Well, really, you could say we just formed a higher low, but let's keep it simple right now. Key support is $8,030, and key resistance is $8,444. That's the range we're watching. If we see follow through on this bounce and we head up to 8,300 or so, this will be our higher low at $8,090. So it's just a continuous tightening pattern, and this pattern breaking heading into tonight, again, is going to dictate whether we see continuation and the top of the bounce is not in just yet, and we see another 4-hour higher low and then higher high, or we see a bear break, we lose the 4-hour higher low pattern, and the support we look back down to is 7,535. Those are the two scenarios of what we're going to see tonight, and right now the bulls have momentum in their favor. People are seeing hidden walls buying on Bitfinex and other exchanges, which look like some whales loading up. But regardless of all that, just the fact that this bounce uptrend is still intact has us favoring the bulls until we get a clear bear break, and we have not seen a clear bear break since this bounce started. So the bulls do have momentum in their favor, but we're going to wait very patiently and watch how this 15-minute I mean, if you want to look at the 15-minute, it's the most detail, but really the hourly and the 4-hour is giving us plenty of information to be looking at our key levels, which are going to break sometime in the next, I would say within the next 5 hours, we're going to see a break of this range that I just highlighted down at the low 8,000 and the 8,400 range. So most other names following very similarly. I want to look at Litecoin because Litecoin is breaking the strong correlation that we have been seeing with Bitcoin. There's a couple of reasons for that potentially. Number one, the LitePay news wearing off, not really seeing that much follow through in terms of, I mean, we got the follow through the bulls we're looking for. We got the news pop, we got the spike in volume, and that's worn off a bit. So we're still rejecting from daily exponential resistance. Again, look at pretty much the last month of trading. Rejection on a bounce, second rejection, third rejection, fourth rejection. Until we get over these exponential resistances, they're very clear resistance levels. We do have our tightening equilibrium pattern on the daily, which none of the other names have. Our low, high of the bounce, our higher low just barely held that low, and our lower high now. So the daily chart's in equilibrium to be watching. But just in terms of the 4-hour chart, comparing it to Bitcoin, again, I'm looking at just the last night's action. We have our high, our higher low on the 4-hour chart, our lower high. So look at the proximity of the lower high compared to here, and look at it on Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame. So there's a lot of lines here, but remember, essentially for Bitcoin, it was a double top. It was a difference of $25, which is a very insignificant amount. And you look at Litecoin, and it was a difference of 160 down to 151. So a $9 difference. That's about, doing some very rough math, that is about 4 or 5% difference, which is a much more significant difference than what we saw on Bitcoin. So tightening pattern forming, equilibrium, and it's the same pattern, it's just a little bit of a different setup. So the 4-hour most recent higher low is at 141.41, and our lower high is at 151. So essentially a $10 Litecoin range that we've been within for almost the past 16 hours or so. So here's this on the hourly chart, and clear tightening range that the bulls are trying to break if we can get over 151. So unlikely that any of these individual names are going to break their equilibrium pattern without some news for a reason, without Bitcoin doing it as well. If we do get a break, always look to Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin hasn't broken yet, we have to take the break with a grain of salt. So say Ethereum breaks its lower high pattern on the 4-hour time frame and gets a bull break, that's a great sign, but I'm taking it with a grain of salt until Bitcoin makes its bull break as well. So again, still tightening up in these patterns and patiently waiting for a signal that we're going to get a break. So $10 range on Litecoin to be watching. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum on the daily chart. So inside bar is forming on the daily chart right now. 4-hour time frame is the same setup. The bounce has not broken the 4-hour higher low pattern. We just formed another one, and we have the lower highs as well here that Bitcoin is experiencing. So again, right now, Bitcoin, in terms of overnight action from our 4-hour higher low overnight, Bitcoin had the strongest bounce from that 4-hour higher low. Ethereum's in the middle, and Litecoin had the weakest bounce from that 4-hour higher low. So here's the tightening range: high of the bounce, higher low, lower high, higher low. That's the range that we're watching right now. Looking at it on the hourly time frame, we have a new resistance to be looking at, 819. So if we want to tighten that up, support is 781.31 and resistance is 819. If I want to use the same levels that I'm watching on Bitcoin, I'm watching 781.31 support and 843 as the key resistance the bulls need to break to be heading back to the high of the bounce. So that's where we stand. I am currently in a position on Ethereum, and I made my entry on this 15-minute higher low. So here was the consolidation we saw from the morning high, a very clear 15-minute lower high, lower low pattern. So if I'm looking for an entry, I say, all right, once we break the lower high pattern, I will then look for higher lows and higher highs to begin forming. So we saw a very solid bounce. We broke the lower highs. So I know that on this consolidation, I'm looking for the bulls to begin showing up for a higher low to form. So as soon as this bull candlestick started, I did use a market order, and not because, or I didn't hesitate, because I was only entering a partial position and I'm not going to eat a huge amount of fees. And I'm only entering a partial position so that if we do break bullish, I will be able to enter a full position a lot easier without using a significant amount of capital in one go. And I'm also entering a small position because if we get a bear break, it'll be a very small loss for me to exit that position. So we're still in the tightening pattern, which is why I'm not, rushing to get in here, but it was enough of a sign here by the bulls that I wanted a piece of the action, and we now have our 15-minute higher low and lower high, so a little mini 15-minute equilibrium along with the 4-hour and hourly that we're watching. So just want to distinguish that again. We have a little 15-minute equilibrium pattern on all of these names that we can be watching. And once that breaks, that's going to shift the odds in which direction the hourly or the 4-hour break is going to occur. But it's not necessarily going to break all at once on all time frames, which is why I'm constantly cycling between the 15-minute hourly, the 4-hour, and to get the complete picture of things. Because just because we break a 15-minute equilibrium pattern doesn't mean we're going to break the hourly or 4-hour equilibrium pattern. We have to see follow through from that break. So I know I've been talking about the Climax alert system in the past couple of videos, and I'm going to talk about it one more time, but just honestly, just really excited that we created something that we are passionate about, and it is working to perfection. I could not have anticipated that this Climax alert would work so well. Here's Ethereum last night. Ethereum on the 15-minute time frame, volume climax oversold. The volume was there. The RSI was down there. This was our low down at 740, and it literally triggered right down there at the bottom in the low 750s. And just to see where that was on the hourly chart for Ethereum, that was our low from overnight here. And this is the exchange on Coinbase. So here I'm trying to line up these time frames. 15-minute dip down to 740. Let's see where that was. Here it is. Took me a bit to find that, but it was actually the dump that we saw back yesterday, last night, and it was the 15-minute time frame getting to extreme oversold levels with high volume. It triggered the bottom, and we went from that alert going out in the low 750s, and a bunch of hours later, we're up in the 840s. So significant follow through on that level. And we had another one today for you Europeans out there. Ethereum EUR, the 15-minute time frame, sent off another alert right down at the low of this pullback before the bulls showed up, and another significant bounce, a 5% bounce in about 2 hours. So the indicators that we are using, the abnormal volume indicator, which is something that we created, and we're combining that abnormal volume indicator with the RSI being at extreme levels, it has timed now. Every single alert that's gone out has been a profitable one. And we've only been running it, granted, for a little bit less than a week, but it's now about 7 for 7, which is very clear follow through. And this is now my new favorite indicator that we use because of its consistency. And another member pointed out how the biggest thing for them is allowing them to trade less, to wait for these signals because they have such a high percentage in terms of win percentage, and to be able to leave the computer, not always be staring at the screen, which is one of the goals. So really loving the fact that these keep following through time and time again. And at some point we will have one that doesn't follow through, but I'm very curious to see how long it takes to get an oversold climax alert that didn't mark just about near the bottom. So let's look at Ripple now. The daily time frame, still weak. Again, the bounce attempt is not showing us really much at all in terms of convincing action that our trend is changing. We have not seen 2 green days in a row since back at the end of January, so it's been a couple weeks. The 4-hour time frame, again, I'm always comparing to Bitcoin. How does this chart look compared to Bitcoin? It's similar, but we don't have as much space in between our 4-hour higher lows here. So we do have lower highs and higher lows, a clear equilibrium pattern, and it will likely break the direction that Bitcoin does break, but it's not breaking just yet. So let's get some more details. Hourly time frame, tighten things up a little bit. The most recent ranges to be watching, support is 728 and resistance is 79, just rounding a little bit. So 728 and 79 are our key resistances, and we're looking up at the bulls attempting to make their way towards that resistance, and we'll see a break again. Same thing as the other names. We'll see a break tonight, and that break will dictate momentum as we head into tomorrow. So tightening 4-hour equilibrium pattern all over the place, and we are patiently waiting for the break. If you are all cash, that's perfectly fine. If you enter on a bull break, make sure and put a stop level, perhaps if higher lows on the hourly are lost. Swing traders are using this 4-hour time frame right now. If Bitcoin loses this 4-hour higher low pattern, again, it doesn't mean we're heading back down to the low and heading to lower lows. It is just the first red flag of this momentum being lost, and we're going to know that the daily chart now has to form a higher low. So the 4-hour time frame is the most significant swing trade time frame to be using for key support levels, and in terms of a bull break to be looking for follow through, it will be very clear there as well. So that's what I'm doing. I haven't traded crypto today. I did trade Litecoin yesterday. I want to talk about that trade real quick because it was a different setup, and I want to go over a little bit of what my mindset was. So I entered this Litecoin trade last night, the 15-minute time frame. I was looking for oversold RSI conditions. So here we are back when the Ethereum climax alert was going off. I had to leave the house for 2.5 hours. So it was right around here when we were dumping, and the RSI on the 15-minute time frame was down in the upper 20s. And I said to myself, okay, we're still in an uptrend on this bounce on the longer term time frames. We're looking for a higher low on the 4-hour chart. The 15-minute RSI is oversold. The 5-minute RSI is oversold. I have to leave right now. I never like being in positions when I'm not in front of the computer, but I can do some things here. I entered a third of my capital into a position on the oversold dump. And I said to myself, okay, I'm leaving for 2 hours. If this price is going to drop down to lower lows while I'm gone, I know that the 15-minute RSI is going to be at an extreme oversold levels. So what I do is I entered a third. I put some more buy orders down here. My entry was at 138, 139. I put buy orders down at 131.15 and down at 128.15, just in case things got extreme. I would be able to, add a bit to my position and offset the fact that it continued down. That's being said, I also set my sell target, filling my third position. I set my sell target at 142.99 and 144.99. And I said, okay, if the oversold bounce plays out as I anticipate that it will, that will trigger me out and I'll be back to all cash while I'm away from the computer. So there were two scenarios that I set up for. And again, the most important factor in all of this was knowing when I would be back to my computer and anticipating what indicators would look like. What would the RSI level be if it continued to drop in that short amount of time? Because if I were going to be gone for 8 hours, we could see the oversold bounce play out and then dump to another leg down very easily while cooling off those RSI levels. So it was the fact that it was 2.5 hours that made me establish this game plan. So in the end, it turned out that I didn't get filled on any more coins. I got filled with my third position and I sold for profit, which ended up being, a really nice trade that I didn't really have to do much for. And the bulls continued with their move to the upside. And, I could sit here and say, oh, if I just held, I could have made $5,000 more or whatever the number is. But in reality, the trade worked out perfectly for my game plan and just gave me confidence to be able to play with that a little bit more in the future in terms of not needing to be staring at the screen while I'm in positions and being able to protect myself both with potentially, lower bids and some sell orders in case the bulls do show up as we hope. So that was just a really quick example of a trade that I made yesterday. And again, want to emphasize that I'm sitting on my hands right now mostly. I did enter partial ETH to give myself some more wiggle room in terms of being able to position myself in case we do get that bull break. But other than that, I've been very patient all day today. And a real big reason of why I'm able to be so patient and not experience any FOMO or anything like that is I'm trading other things. The stock market volatility has been a gift the past week. Doesn't matter if it's going up or down. We're playing it in both directions. And I am able to make consistently more money with that stock market volatility the past week than I've been able to make with the volatility in the crypto space. So again, the fact that I have something else to be doing makes me very easily able to completely disregard, the crypto market and say, all right, I'll play it when the 4-hour equilibrium breaks. I don't have to watch it until that happens. And that's because I'm doing other things. So again, that's another point to leading to the fact of learning how to utilize technical analysis in other places to allow yourself more opportunity all over the place, which prevents you from forcing trades at times when maybe it would be best advised to not do anything, because as we know, this is a gambler's rush that we get when we are trading here, and we have to keep that at bay to not make us overtrade seeking that rush. It's just like a drug. If you're pushing a little morphine drip button and you like doing that and you make money and profit, being able to, hold your thumb off from continuing to press that button during times of low volatility and give profits back is really important. So I hope you all continue to do good things. I appreciate you all watching, and we are going to check back in tomorrow and get an update. I'll check back in tomorrow afternoon, and we'll see which direction we broke overnight.